This is the ETR1. It's Rockstar's first attempt at a GT race car. It definitely looks the part, although with a digital, larger-than-life touch. Wide, solid stance with a giant wing and huge wheels screams that this car plans to perform. Rockstar did a great job on vehicle design cues, as well as making a car that was distinct in GTA. It came out with the Cunning Stunts update in July of 2016. It's in the Super class, made by the Emperor brand, and will run you a nose-bleeding $1.995 million at Legendary Motorsports. And for that price, the first statement made was, it better be up to the task. Released with the RE7B Antiris, it had some stiff competition from the start. On a personal level, this was the car I'd been waiting for since day one. The car I had begged for. I had dreams of GT competitions in my head from the get-go, and the point that there was only one didn't matter to me. It was go time. So here we were on the move. So let's get to the testing and see how it performs. Welcome to Grapeseed Circuit, where we'll test the acceleration, handling, and braking of the ETR1. The first thing you're going to notice is the grip is everything you'd expect it to be. Still, the car isn't on rails. It will break loose if pushed to the ceiling, and that stiff suspension doesn't like to be shaken up too hard. So it's best to keep the wheels planted if you can. This is where I have to explain that Cunning Stunts had some errors in suspension, commonly known as curb boosting. The amount of deformity on the track actually sped up the cars. All the Cunning Stunts cars were affected, and the ETR was no exception. You'll notice on rough patches that the car will attempt to lunge forward. Unfortunately, even with this acceleration, it's poor at best. It struggles to push itself around like it's woefully underpowered. Sure, the brakes are some of the best in GTA, but the car hardly makes the speed to need them. There comes a point when it's simply boring to drive. It made a 1:26.536, which isn't shabby, but would still be 8.4 seconds off the HSW weaponized Ignis and 3.6 seconds off the normal Devest 8. Usually I insert complaints at the end, but honestly, this car should have devastated this track. It should have left the Ignis asking why, and the Devest 8 crying home to mom saying, "Don't let the bad man hurt me." If I drove this in real life, I'd ask how many cylinders we dropped during the run. It's almost criminal, so I'm just going to move on. Route 68 is where we test the top speed of the cars, and I didn't expect the ETR1 to take the top spot here. It struggled in this course again, like the motor was broken. A car better gauged for the turns, it should have given us a fairly good showing, and that was that. Instead, it had the same results as a Rapid GT, and it was slightly faster than a Calico GTF. That's 21.7 seconds off the Devest 8 HSW. Non-HSW, it was 9.3 seconds off the pace. The Weevil and the Pariah were faster. It finished with a 155.150, and although it was expected to be slower, I'm not sure I expected this much. Next up is Going Down, where we test the dirt racing quality of the ETR1, and this was the funniest testing I've ever done on the dirt. This car hated dirt. The stiff suspension made every bump seem to frustrate the car. It was the first time I noticed it had a short turning radius as it pushed through the track begrudgingly to try to get what little power it had to the ground. Still, the amazing handling the car has said a couple of mods, and this would be its type of racing and would easily be the fastest on this track. This is where top speed doesn't matter as much. It did a 124.236, and it was only 2.6 seconds off the HSW Cyclone 2's time in a class that simply doesn't like dirt. So what's the verdict? Let's go with the good. The handling is on point, and the brakes are possibly the best in the game. But that's where it ends. The car's power is painfully off the point. I'm not asking it to be the fastest in the game either. It should be slower top speed, but this isn't slower. This is broken, even for the super class. Its acceleration is inexcusable. It should rocket up to its top speed so fast the handling can't keep up. Truth be told, Cunning Stunts was awash with underperformers, but the ETR1 was easily the biggest disappointment at its launch. Its lackluster performance left it overshadowed by an RE7B that also had a speed glitch that added insult to injury, and the ETR was simply ignored. It's also not a car show vehicle, so quickly its usefulness dried up like a puddle in the Sahara. I believe that this car had a chance to save racing had it been implemented correctly. With its exceptional handling, it didn't need to be the fastest in the room. It just needed to have the quality acceleration that it needed to maintain victory. We see that now in the Vector of the tuner class. Sure, the car still isn't realistic, but it's competitive on the right course. The reason I showed this off today is really because I want to point out the glaring deficiencies this game can present and why we're so in need of a race class similar to how Tuners is set up. Imagine a progression style unlocking play where you start off as a lowly street racer, racing others like yourself, and then move up to the GT class where you move on to be the top of your field. Instead, we get a Calico GTF which is just as fast, if not faster, than the race car it strives to be. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this testing. The ETR1 still remains one of my favorite cars, and I hope that we'll see more like it in the future. Alas, as the future is fixed, it will leave the ETR in the dust. So don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that bell icon, and we'll see you in the next test.